What's up, everyone? It is Ray. I'm back again, and now I'm actually starting something that I was discussing online on Facebook. I want to start doing a build a week. I want to try and make this page pretty much as many builds as I can possibly get on here. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into this. And first build that I'm going to be doing for this build a week deal is the Swan Coil by a guy named deeduplex, aka Dexter. Um, I don't know if you've seen him online. He's gained a lot of popularity recently with some of his builds. He does a lot of crazy artistic style builds. And he contacted me and said that he would like me to add some of his builds to my build a week tutorial thing here on YouTube. So we'll do it. I'm going to start off with the Swan Coil. If you haven't seen the Swan Coil, let's show it to you. There we go. This is a dual Swan Coil that's all juicy and filled up with liquid. My girlfriend's laughing at juicy and filled with liquid. So there you go. This is a dual Swan Coil. You can kind of see it. Get a little bit closer. How's that? All right. So anyways, just show you how it fires. I just kind of like drowned this thing up with liquid, but this is coming in at, I want to say a 0.28, I think it was 0.28. But I built this yesterday. I made this whole video I made yesterday, and my video crapped out on me. So I wasted all that time. So this is actually part 2 of the Swan Coil build. So let's show you how it vapes and go into build mode. Okay, welcome to build mode. We're going to be using some 24 gauge wire, which I just received recently, so expect to be seeing a lot more 24 gauge builds. So first thing we'll do first is pull off a decent amount of 24 gauge and making sure that it doesn't spring on me, because this stuff is very springy. So I'm gonna say, let's make it about 6 inches or so. All right, so cut off 6 inches. Here it is, right here. Main thing that is very important with this Swan Coil is that you have a nice straight piece. I got a little goofy right here, but for the most part, this is a nice clean piece. You want to fold it in half. All right, so we fold it in half. Ow, this stuff is sharp. And once you get it to this point, just like so, I take my needle nose pliers and I bend it right at the tip. You want this to be a fairly tight bend here. See if I can do this on camera. The hardest part about doing these tutorials, I have to do it all on camera. All right. Can you see this? No, you can't. Let me zoom in here for you. Now you can see it zoomed in very, very tight. All right. You basically want the wires to almost be touching. This is the important part of making this Swan Coil by Mr. deeduplex. All right. Next tool you need is a bit that is about 5/64. All right, this is a 5/64. You can go a little bit bigger if you want, or smaller if you choose to, but this is probably about the right size for me at the resistance that we're going for here today. All right, make sure that your wires are not overlapping each other, because that will ruin this build. All right, so let's get right into it. Start here, like so, at a decent little angle here, as close as you can to that initial bend. And this 24 is pretty difficult to work with, but once you get that first bend in, kind of like that, and I do it about 3 times. All right, so now it looks like that. That looks ugly, right? Ray, that does not look like Swan Coil. I know. Now you take some needle nose pliers and bend the rest of that around. You want this as tight around onto whatever you're using to wrap your coil as possible. Right? So bend it. Now it looks a little bit cleaner. Now you just take it, kind of smash it together. It's like so, and we'll go through and fix all this in a bit. But basically you want to be about as even as possible. And you can see it kind of pop there. So again, take the needle nose and we'll kind of get everything bent back into place. Make sure it looks nice and clean. Just like that. And try not to tear your fingernails off, because it's pretty easy to do with this. Almost there. These builds take a little bit of practice. Deeduplex makes some very technical builds. This is probably his least technical of the bunch, hence why I use this for my first build, because it looks pretty, it works well, and just about anyone out there can manage this one. I think I went one wrap too many, so we'll back off here. And I did cheat and made another coil prior to this, so that way you didn't have to sit through, like, you know, another one of those 30-minute build videos. Unless, of course, you like listening to my voice for that long. I sure the hell don't. Neither does my girlfriend. And she lives with me. Okay. So that looks about right. Ah. This is the Swan Coil. See it? Kind of zoom in here a little bit more. How's that look? That's better, right? That is the Swan Coil. Kind of cool looking. And I'll show you the one that I built earlier. This one's a little bit more refined, and I cleaned it up a little bit. And if you look, the way that I bent it here, there we go. I bent that leg out, and I'll show you why in a second. So let's go ahead and show you why. All right, here is the IGO-W, which we'll be building it in today. And if you're used to the IGO-W, you got your 3 posts, your positive, and your 2 negatives on the outside. And you have post holes drilled out. So the bent section, there's too much shadowing going on here. The bent section, this piece right here, I'm feeding into the negative. All right, so here we go. Positive and negative. Good in there. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. There, no. There it goes. Okay, now that we're in there, use whatever thing that you use to wrap your coil and install that in there. And I want it a little off center. I kind of put it in between. This doesn't look very sharp. There we go. I kind of put it in between the negative and the positive post. It seems about correct right there. Okay. Let's go ahead and tighten down the negative. Go, negative's nice and tight. And just because, let's tighten down the positive. Just enough until you see the wire start to bend up a little bit. You don't want it too tight. 24, you won't really snap. Okay, now that I have it like this, I want to bend it down. Let me see if I can show you that. See that? Bend it to an angle. Probably at about a 45-degree angle. The build that I showed you in the beginning of this, which was my second try, kind of built it like a vertical, and it was a little too hot. Just a tad. Okay? So there you go. Looks like that, right? Beautiful. So I'm going to cut off the negative lead here, and I'll keep the positive in there for now, because now we need to install the one we just built on camera. First off, let's see what we got here. 153. Good? Good. Okay, so now we're on this side, and remember when I showed you with this other one, basically want to bend this one out just a little bit. Not, you can use tools for this, but I'm kind of good with doing this with just my fingers. Just my fingers. Sound like I'm from the country. All right, line this up about right there. We'll bend this back out. This is the only time I'll go in and use the needle nose, just so I can get it a little bit cleaner of a bend here. Hopefully I'm still doing all this on camera. Not really watching myself this time, for once. Okay, there we go. That looks better. Okay, so now same thing. Oh, maybe I should loosen up my positive lead here. How many times have you guys done that? I do it all the time. Okay. So positive in, negative in, maybe, kind of, sort of. Get in there. There we go. No. Same thing. We'll get this in. Use that screwdriver to get it in kind of flush. Bend it to where you want it. I want it there. Tighten up the negative. Let's turn this thing off for now. Now, I don't know if this is exactly the way that deeduplex does his builds, but this is the way I found it to be easiest for me. So that's why I'm showing you. All right, same thing. Take it, bend it down. Bend it to a nice angle that you're happy with. That's about where I like it to be. And of course, this can all be fixed. We gotta tighten up our positive here too. Now that we're done. Hey. There we go. So, bend that down. There we go. Perfect. Now I'm just gonna cut off all these leads and I'll come back and we'll go ahead and put some wick in there. Okay, so before we get going on to wicking here, I almost forgot. We gotta pulse, fire. Get that thing lit up. Make sure everything lights up nice and even. Looks pretty good. I'll go in there afterwards and make sure everything is sitting nice. This one's up a little bit higher than I'd like, so kind of push it down just a little bit, not too much. It's looking pretty nice though. And then one thing that I'll do, kind of the same thing like with the micro coil, is I'll go through, if anything looks a little awkward, I'll go through and bend it out and correct it with my tweezers. But for the most part, this build's looking pretty sharp. It's lighting up even. And one thing that's kind of cool about these is they almost feel like they're firing from the bottom up, but they're not. It's still the middle out, just like any normal coil, but this one's just a little bit fancier. All right, so now that we see that, I'm gonna go ahead and throw it back on my ohm meter and put some wick in there. Okay, so here's the wick. Rolled out a cotton ball. Cut off a little bit of it here. Actually, I don't even need to cut it. I'll cut it once I install it. So pull off a decent piece here. About like that. Might be a little too much. Nice thing about cotton balls is you can adjust your wick size according to how your build is. Alright, so let's go ahead and twist one end and feed it on through. And you'll notice when you do this, your cotton will grab onto that bent end of the wire. That's fine. And of course, make sure your cotton can still move in there freely. Break out my trusty tool, my jumbo paper clip. Give myself a little cotton cloud underneath this coil. Give it something to sop up some of that juice. And then this piece here, go ahead and cut that off. Don't need it. And tuck everything in nice. You might want to put a little bit more inside there. Just like so. Alright, so that looks pretty. Go ahead and wick the other one. Okay, there it is wicked. You can see this is my cotton wicked Swan Coil. Thanks again to deeduplex for the inspiration for the build. There'll be a link to his Facebook page down below in the description. Alright, so let's go ahead and take this off of here. Oh, by the way, it's a 0.26. Kind of bouncing from 0.26 to 0.28. So we're going to pull this off, go back into regular mode. I'll drip some juice on there and show you how it fires. Okay, here we go. Let's go ahead and put some juice on here. Saturate these up nice. Make sure that cotton fully saturated. Always the first time you put cotton on, you want as much juice in there as you can get without completely flooding it. Let's see. Some of that juice to boil off there. All right, so there we go. See, fire's all right. And of course, when you put your cap on, make sure you got 2 holes and line it up. Make sure you're not going to be sucking up any juice there. Looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and give it a fire. So as you can see, this build fires really nice. It is putting out a lot of vapor. Flavor's pretty good, but as with most vertical style builds, and this one does sort of go a little bit above your deck. I mean, you can control that, but it is a warmer vape. So you do get a lot more heat off of this coil. Another thing you have to watch out for is that the little tufts of cotton at the top of your coils are not blocking your air hole right in there. Because the first time I built this and I took that first hit, I got a mouthful of juice. So make sure you still have proper airflow at the top of whatever RDA you're using. This just happens to be IGO-W. But yeah, this build's worth it. You know, it's a little bit more hassle, but it looks nice. And you do get a lot of vapor, decent amount of flavor. Nothing too different from what I've had in the past, but it's a good coil. I like it. And of course, all props go to deeduplex for coming up with this build. And again, I'm Ray. Thank you for watching. If you like these videos and you want to see more, like I said, I am going to be doing a build a week, or at least try and do a build a week, as close as I can as possible. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll put something right here, probably. Right here. Just click on this, and it'll take you to subscribe to my channel to watch more build tutorials. I got a bunch of device reviews coming. I got a Valkyrie, a Stingray coming, and possibly some more goodies here in the very near future. So thanks again for watching, everyone, and as always, vape on.